they said we have to be very careful because they expect they expect to see some people, trying to attack those who interact with all those contracts. Um, so yeah, I guess something to have in mind. We said we were going to be the three of us, Bear, Nate, and I, controlling the round. So when the time comes to add all of you guys to the portal, please make sure you share a wallet that's secure and yeah, whatever. We can chat a little bit more about that later. And so cool. Well, let's get the contributor meeting officially started. Let's go for a quick round of intentions and distractions. You wanna take it, Griff?
Sure. Thanks, Nancy. My intentions are to just hang out. I do have one agenda topic to mention is like applying for optimism grants. I think that I couldn't come last week, but I think Gideon mentioned it on Thursday, and I just want to check in with you guys and also talk about potential asks, and see if get initial reactions. And distractions are that I'm just kind of playing with ChatGPT to write some the technical part of the grant with Amelia, who's from the Common Stack, who's next to me.
Cool. Oh, it's AI April.
AI April. Oh yeah, and that's the other intention. Sign up for AI April. What are you guys doing? I'll put your names down if I have to. I'll share screen, get you in. And then I'll pass it over to Nate.
Thanks, Griff. Yeah, my intentions is to kind of go through this agenda and really, this week is, I think we're going to focus on the transition towns. Joseph is taking over a lot of that responsibility, and just be here to support you as we make that transition. And so, it's my intention. And then my distractions are currently this morning, and I'm having my morning coffee. So, I'll pass it over to you, Bear.
Thank you, Nate. Intentions, just to be here, to be present in supporting the grants program. I think that's going to be the priority for this week and probably the coming weeks as well. And also, yes, as well, just like Nate said, providing support with Joseph with all of this communications transition. I think that's also really important. And really curious to hear more about Griff has to say about the optimism grants. I think that that's a great opportunity as well. Distractions, I'm just having something to eat right now, but nothing much. I'll pass it on to Joseph.
Yeah, intentions is to work with Marathon Mind to get helping him, supporting him with like content creation for like the grants program, and getting that all underway. Distractions. The only distraction I have is that I'm on the side trying to create like a piece of art, and Blender's giving me a headache. I've already lost all my hair, so I don't know what else to throw or lose. But apart from that, that's about it. I believe everyone has gone, so I'll probably pass it back to you guys.
Thanks. Intentions. Well, by now, I just think grants. I just talk grants, and I just breathe grants. And distractions, none at the moment. Cool. Let's move. Anyone has any quick update from any work? I don't know if SPI comes or anything quick that you guys wanted to share.
I would say that it was like a mini win when we had our Twitter space yesterday with the SPI. We had someone come up on stage, and he was actually a professor teaching students about DAOs and things like that. So I know Nate was in communication with him to try and get him and his students to potentially start their own research group. But I need to talk to Nate with regard to like outreach, how we're going to approach it. Do we need to create like a documentation in terms of like a template for, you know, how it should be done and so forth. So that was kind of like a mini win.
That's really cool. Something else? 5. Okay, go ahead. Well, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay. Do you want to take it, Grief?
Sure. Okay, so I'm looking to create, I mean, let me just check in with you guys and say, like, has everyone heard about this idea of moving to optimism? And what are your thoughts about it? Yeah, Isaac, we'll just do a quick round.
Okay. Yeah, we chatted very quickly about that last week, and I overall agree. Yeah. Nate.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of it. I think the super chain model is really beneficial to for developing things like reputation systems and things like that that are portable over different chains. I think the biggest concern that I have with this transition is getting kind of this community approval of transferring the bonding curve and the funds that exist on this chain to Optimism. I think it's going to be really challenging, and we really need to have a lot of efforts in the kind of the stakeholder outreach and all that good stuff. But I do think it's the right move in terms of eliminating and mitigating these kind of external risks when it comes to gnosis and other regulatory aspects. So I think this is the right direction. But I do have some concerns, and I think it'll be kind of slow moving. But I think we should definitely be moving in that direction. So yeah, I'll pass it over to Joseph.
Yeah, I think I'm of the same cloth, so of the same ilk. I think I think my only worry is with regards to like moving the funds and that this process is not rushed, because you know if it is rushed and such, then like one small sand grain or marble could mean like, you know, an empty of funds, and then, you know, we're all doomed. So as long as the risks are properly outlined for what we see, and you know those risks are addressed accordingly, then yeah, you know, objections or anything like that towards moving to optimism.
Fair.
Yeah, pretty quickly. I think we're all in the same page. I think this change, especially in terms of governance possibilities, I think could allow us to explore more new technologies, better things to make our governance more secure and more the way we want it to be. So yeah, totally on favor with this move. Like on a technical side, I really don't know how complicated would that be. It sounds to me like it would be some sort of challenge, but I think we should do it.
And not only that, I think we can make it a huge win for us to do it. This is at least what I want to try to do. So, Giveth just received a 40K OP grant, which at current value is $100,000 to deploy the Giveth chain or the Giveth application onto Optimism. And I think that deploying the TEC product to Optimism could get even more, honestly. And what I would like to propose is basically that the Common Stack take this task on of bringing it to Optimism, and that maybe we request some kind of funding to do that. Maybe it can be on like the quadratic. Maybe we can do it through the quadratic funding model but if it's not enough, maybe we do a retroactive grant or something, because it is annoying to have to work with Optimism, but I've done it a bunch before. So I don't want to say like Common Stack, like putting Livia, Amelia, and my time on it should be free. That's one thing I want to like put up front. Not actually Livia, and we were just talking about seconds ago. So that's one part, is that it is work to get this grant proposal through. But what we want to propose is that first off, we deploy Aragon. We have to deploy Aragon to Optimism. So they don't have anything on Aragon. And we'd have to deploy the EVM CRISPR and the common stack tooling, like the augmented bonding curve specifically, to Aragon. We wouldn't deploy conviction voting, but we would make sure that, I guess I can put it in the chat. We would also move our front end to DAO, to the same front end as Aragon is using for their current DAO, DAO.aragon.org, I think. Oh. Edit that. So that, I just put a link in the chat, but this, I guess I can share screen too. Oh yeah, you're showing it. So yeah, and if you click finance, it would basically be this UI. Have you guys seen this UI before?
Yeah, I have played with it several times.
It's the Aragon interface, right?
Okay, great. So then if you guys know this UI, then that's all cool. So we would basically make sure that UI is there. That would be the new UI of our DAO for passing proposals and all that jazz. And then we would, let's see, and so we would ask for money for that. And that would be separate though from moving the TC. That would be like a builder grant, and that's something the Common Stack would manage. And it would be actually a separate grant, because they have two types of grants in Optimism. They have builder grants, where you get the money, but you get the OP tokens, but you can't sell it for a year. And so Common Stack would manage the deployment of all the Aragon infrastructure and all the technical infrastructure that's needed for the TEC to deploy. And then we would have a growth grant for bringing the TEC and the TE Academy community over to Optimism. And so in this growth grant, I would ask for three things. The first would be like basically matching funds for our matching pool. So like 50,000 OP, which right now is worth over $100,000, of dollar for dollar matching into our matching pool. So basically every matching pool, every time we do a QF round, we would do it always on Optimism, of course, and they would get half the money that the recipients would get would be OP tokens, and the other half would be TEC tokens. The other thing I would ask for is basically an individual reward for every unique TEC token holder that we can prove is unique. So like maybe we say like $100 basically for every TEC token holder. And those TEC token holders are, they are rewarded with like, they have to prove that they're unique either by being members of the Trusted Seed at some point, so any hatcher, or have receiving praise. Enough praise that we can say they are like a unique person. And they probably also have to have so much TEC. Like, that's what I was thinking. Like, they have to be a holder of, 5 times as much TEC as they have OP tokens, as they would get OP tokens. And the other thing I would request is a, like, basically as much OP as they will give us, and as much as we can take, more than what we can take, to make a secondary market for the TEC token. So like we would put up TEC, they would put up OP, and then we have a Uniswap pool or Velodrome or whatever market we think is best for like secondary liquidity. So they would provide all of that stuff and pay for the tech, and then we move. This is what I'm going to ask for, and then we move the whole community over to Optimism. That was a lot. What do you guys think?
And I guess the question that I have is, in terms of the agreements that we already have established within the Gnosis ecosystem, for example, the water that we have locked up, the TEC tokens we have locked up in water. I remember that there was kind of a penalty for that, and I'm not sure if that's something that we can negotiate out of or talk to them about, or whether that's kind of just like a binding thing.
I think that we should follow through with our agreements and not try to talk our way out of it. Honestly, it was 15% for water. I don't think that that's unreasonable, but we can ask, we can negotiate, and we can ask. But yeah, we would have to get rid of that liquidity. We'd also have to get rid of the give token liquidity. And we'd also really need to consider how are we going to deal with, like, there isn't much, but there's a couple $1,000s of random liquidity in Uniswap. And, you know, we basically need to just ask everyone to, like, take out their liquidity, because they will get, like, you know, I'm not sure. I'm going to talk to Sem today. He's coming in to the Giveth House today, where I am, and see what we can do. If we can, I know we can't make the token non-transferable, but I think we can effectively make it non-transferable without like calling that function. I'm sure that there's some way that we can effectively break the TEC token, so that like replacing the token, upgrading the token manager to have, you know, 0x0 as the, I don't know. There's got to be a way to basically make the token contract not work, you know, so that it can't transfer. Because that would be a lot cleaner than basically some scammers. Everyone has TEC tokens; they're still liquid, and people can trade them and stuff on the Gnosis chain. So like, it'd be really nice if we could somehow like basically freeze the tokens. But I'll talk to Sam about that.
Yeah, and then my last question is what is the timeline looking like for this? You know, in terms of like the time horizon for us to get this kind of planning and organization done, with communicating to stakeholders and all that good stuff too.
Well, we wouldn't be able to get the grant for 3 months. So that's for sure. We wouldn't be able to start the work to do it for 3 months. The grant will be due in about 3 weeks, I think, to get started. Like, we should have it submitted within the next 3 weeks.
And is that grant going to be done by Common Stack, or should we be actively developing a grant proposal for us as well?
I think it's a lot cleaner if we manage it. I've been trying to get the Giveth grant for like the last almost year. And now I know the optimism process really well. So I feel like it's the common stack should manage it with support, of course, from you guys, and we run it through. But at this point, it would be a lot easier for me to manage, I think, especially because we're also going to ask for another grant on top of it that will be separate from I presented 2 grants to you. Common Stack will do a third that will also ask to launch hatches and like, you know, and other and like basically make it so anyone can permissionlessly do what the TEC did. So like make a hatch fundraise website where someone can deploy their own hatch fundraise, and also a TEC bonding curve website, you know, where you don't have to host the bonding curve app like convert.tcommons.org, and create an incubator where we can actually, where the Commons Stack can socially, culturally support projects who want to launch Commons to kind of kickstart the ecosystem around Commons on Optimism. So we're going to ask for that grant too. You know, the it's kind of like both the Commons Stack grants and the TEC grants rely on the Aragon grant passing. I also think the Aragon grant is really easy to pass. Like, hey, we want to make it so people can deploy all of this cool infrastructure on Optimism. That I'm pretty confident that will pass. I'm also pretty confident the TEC proposal will pass. Maybe not with those high numbers that I quoted. Maybe we'll have to negotiate down on some of the LP requests, like how much money we get. But I do think the TEC will pass. I'm less certain about the Common Stack grant passing, but I feel like since Common Stack has to do 2 anyway, we might as well. It's a lot easier for us to do the TEC grant than it would be to bring in you guys and also use the TEC resources, you know?
Grief.
Yeah.
It's a lot of information, and maybe I got in late, so I want to make like a summary with my words to see if I am understanding. So we are thinking on moving the liquidity that we have from Gnosis to Optimism, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
And moving the bonding curve and everything, moving our whole DAO.
Okay, I get it. I think it's because the Aragon version that we had in Gnosis is not longer going to get maintenance. So we are going to go to the new Aragon that has support in Optimism, right?
Yeah. Well, it
Okay.
doesn't have Optimism support yet, but we would ask for a grant to do that.
Okay. And okay, so the Common Stacker is going to make some grants for Optimism to move some of the infrastructure that we've built to the Optimism network. That's right?
Yep.
Okay. So super cool. And I want to ask this link to the Aragon DAO. This is the DAO of Optimism.
This is the DAO that Aragon is using to manage their funds, their personal funds. And so they're going to put like $200 million of Aragon tokens into this DAO that is at that link, and then use this DAO at that link to distribute the ANT to their developers and to their community, passing proposals and all that. And so that is on mainnet, but this would be this would be the new UI that the TC would use. And I think even if we don't move to Optimism, we should really consider moving to this, getting someone, paying someone to deploy this on some chain and moving to it, because it's much more it'll be more likely to be maintained than what we're using.
You know what's cool? That when Gravity was doing some of the mediation for Aragon, it was a lot about all these things of like deploying a new version and like what would it be with the old version. So it's really cool to see that yeah, things have moved on since that initial state where there was like conflict, but now it seems like things are moving because they before had the ESD, and like they had a whole process to move to this new way of managing their funds.
Yeah, and they're using DAO voting, so it's
Yeah,
relatively seamless for us. There
amazing.
there there are some technical differences though. Like there is no Celeste, and so for challenging proposals, we'll have to have a Guardian set, which is kind of annoying, but uh, it would basically be like a group of people who can um, that could stop a malicious proposal from passing, and we can still have the covenant and all that, but we'd basically be replacing Celeste with a multi-sig.
Okay, that all makes sense. And the last thing I wanted to communicate is that um, we as Gravity are also trying to approach optimism, and we are offering also our services to them. So maybe if all things go right, we will also be providing services to them in the future.
Nice.
I think it looks really good overall. It's also really ambitious, but like just like you said, if anything, we can just negotiate down on whatever. And I think I actually think it's important that we move because this is what I said last week when Gideon mentioned this is that I think um, proximity is very important, and especially for us, because other projects on Gnosis, most of the projects on Gnosis are like product-based projects, and so for them it's easier to capture chains and to capture people. But for us, it's way more complicated, and so it's best if we can live on a chain where pretty much all the other projects are moving into as well, and so that we can interact more with the whole system because we are a bit siloed here right now.
Absolutely, and I think for optimism, this idea that we are going to bring the token engineering brain trust to the optimism chain, not just the TC but also the T Academy, and like we can also say like 50 OP to everybody, every unique person who has a certification from the T Academy, and we can really make this about token engineering, not just the TEC, but making optimism the home chain for legitimate token engineering. So I think it's also a win-win. I think that they will see that as like a big opportunity as well.
Yeah, I hope so too.
I just wanted to ask one last question to you, Griff, because the big thing that I see as becoming maybe a potential obstacle is that the community support. If we do have somebody, maybe a large token holder who dissents or something, is there anything to mitigate that? Is there an opt-out option for people who are against this or firmly against the moving of funds and the transfer of the bonding curve to a new chain, all that good stuff? Is there any issues around
I mean,
that?
they can always sell their tokens. They can't sell them if they're vested. This is true. Although we won't be quite 100% vested, will we? April, May, June. We'll be pretty close to 100% vested by then, if not completely 100% vested. So they should be able to sell their tokens.
Okay. And so just kind of like, well, in terms of communications, like, should we just keep this under wraps for a little bit until we know for sure exactly the direction of the grants and all that good stuff?
I mean, we can't. I don't think that there's anything to tweet about, like, or be loud about, because it's just a grants council. There's no votes, there's no anything, but it will be publicly available on the forum. So it's not something that we can keep under wraps per se. But it's not like we have to communicate every forum post that anyone ever writes about the TC either. So
Okay.
Yeah, I also think there's no rush in doing this, especially because I think if we just wait a bit for this gig round and for some of the other things that are happening, I think that's going to be even better to pitch this to optimism. So I think I don't think for now we should focus too much on that and just provide value and then use that value to leverage that value on the grant request.
I don't actually know when the deadline is off the top of my head for season cycle 12, but I do think that it will be within a month. So I don't think that we should delay too much on proposing the grant because these things take time. So like, if we miss this, then it'll be 6 months before we could get any funds. And also if something goes wrong with this grant and we have to repropose, maybe we have to wait 6 months anyway. So it's more like a proposal. It's not it's not like we're doing this, but I wouldn't say that we should wait, I mean, we can wait until before we post the final forum post, and get more feedback. Make sure Gideon is back and can review it and stuff. But I wouldn't wait until the end of the QF round, for instance. I think that's too long. At some point.
Yeah. If the timeline is
Yeah, I mean, I'll have to see what the timeline is, but they have 3-month cycles. One cycle just ended this week, so the next cycle should be starting this week, and it's probably like a 2 to 3 week proposal period.
Okay. So yeah. Let's see how can we start doing that. Is there anything else? If not, I'd like to have some open questions about the grants.
Nope, that's it on my side. It's a lot, for sure. And as we get some grant proposals put together, we can pass them first on to the TEC forum before putting them on the Optimism forum.
Okay, sounds good. Well, cool. Let's move on to grants. A few quick updates. Yesterday I had a meeting with the what they call the Grants Operators Guild, which is like a group with all the folks that are running rounds on the stack. And well, they showed us around and gave us some more information. So the rounds, at least most of the rounds, are going to be deployed on Wednesday, so tomorrow. Because deployed because it is now a protocol. Each round a contract and so on. Disputes are not possible right now. I thought we were going to have like a dispute process and all of that. If one project didn't make it through or wasn't accepted, they could challenge the decision and see what's up. But the way, at least in the current version of the protocol, once a project applies to a round, they cannot edit the grant, or it is very complicated to do so. So it's going to be very important, especially as far as communications, to suggest that if a grantee is not sure about their grant, that they get in touch before applying to get some feedback, and then they apply. And like, and once they apply, it's like final. The last update is that it's going to pretty much of the run to run on it. They said college do on optimism and suggested we run on it as well for the sake of simplicity to provide better support, yada yada yada. We sort of agreed that we're going to just whatever chain most of the rounds were going to take place in. From conversation with them, I assumed it was going to be optimism, but since it's not it. And so yeah, let's open up with that question. How do you guys?
Yeah, I think you're getting a little choppy there, Isaac. But in terms of the challenging the ruling on whether a proposal qualifies, I think that maybe this is kind of part of our communication efforts and trying to make sure there's a clear process, and if a project feels like that they may or may not qualify, to kind of apply early. And is it possible that we can have kind of this like social, if we see a proposal that we know we're going to reject based off of some circumstances, that we can reach out to them and say, hey, in the current form of your proposal, like, we're not going to be able to admit you into this round, and allow them to kind of I don't know, submit their proposal in a different form.
I think that it would be good to work on prevention. So also it would be good to build like rules and boundaries so that the criteria doesn't seem subjective.
Yeah, I think most of them are going to be pretty clear cut, like from the requirements that we've put forth. But just in case there's some kind of gray area or some concern that we have, maybe around like prior funding or something like that, um, getting the proposals in early might be helpful to actually mitigate that lack of challenge process.
I didn't hear everything because I had to switch. Internet it's going terrible today. But from what I understood, essentially what they suggested is that we move or that we do. I guess we can say something similar to what we do with regular proposals. So they kind of approach us first with some, I guess, early feedback / advice process, whatever, and then they move on to the next phase if everything is all right, where if they would actually apply to the round and be accepted. Um, there's let me see. What Connor is that it's so complex. Like people can actually technically kind of change information, but it is so complicated that it's easier to make a new grant, but then that incurs into more gas fees and all of that. So yeah, I'm not sure if I responded to your question, but that's what they suggested.
They wouldn't not be able to update their current form of the grant that they proposed. They'd have to submit a new one. if it was rejected?
They said that in an exceptional case, they should be able to help us with that. We shouldn't. We should try not to do that because it's complicated, and we would rely on them right now to make those changes. Um, so for example, projects can make their grant on the protocol, and they can edit it before applying. If they apply, they can no longer change it. Sort of like if you apply, the grant gets sort of like locked, and that's it for it. Um, anything else, or in general, how do we feel about mainnet? Something quick about this as well is that even if we run the round on mainnet, grantees can create their proposal on another chain and then apply to rounds in other chains. So we could save grantees a bunch of money in gas fees if they just handle all their projects on Optimism and then just go ahead and apply on mainnet for our round. I'm going to assume we are fine with that. Otherwise, just feel free to interrupt. Um, Next thing is the matching boost. We've been chatting about the matching boost for quite a bit now, but now some details about it. I guess um, it's very rough. We are going to have some help from the GitCon team, and it's going to be calculated after the round ends. The question now is, do we want to have like a minimum holding threshold? And if so, what is it? Do we request 50 TC minimum, 100, 200? I don't know.
And this is strictly for, I guess, so this is not going to be integrated as part of like an automated process within the Allo protocol, but rather we're taking a snapshot. Is that correct?
Yeah, we could. My hope is that for the next round or for the following one, we can sort of build a plugin for the Gitcoin passport. But right now, it's manual.
Yeah, since it's manual, I think I think it actually affords us to do a lot more than just the TEC token holdings. We can make whatever requirements we want from that. But I think that also, I believe Angela was also kind of desiring to reward some of the individual students who have completed the entire TE fundamentals course, or the people who have hosted study groups and stuff like that, to also get that ability for the boost. And perhaps we can do that manually as well. But I'm not exactly sure if there's
Yeah.
minimum requirements for token holdings. I feel like if you own a couple TEC tokens, it'd probably be fine, but I don't know.
Question is, what's couple? Or just
Break it up pretty bad again. But I will say that I think that if we can do it, one of the objectives here is to see if we can get people to interact with the ABC on Gnosis. So having communication centered around that to qualify for the boost and to kind of engage with others to participate in that way, I think would be really important. And then just kind of incorporating, anybody that Angela thinks deserves to be rewarded for their activities within the Token Engineering Academy would be probably the next big thing. If we're doing it manually, we might as well just go through it and just take a snapshot.
Yeah. So the idea right now, I'm chatting with Rex to see what's the best way to go about it. So the idea would be to take a snapshot somewhere in the middle of the round, for both TA certifications and TEC token holdings, and make like a joint table. So if your address has either something from the academy or TEC, you get the same boost. Right now, it's not going to have any sensitivity. Like the more you have, the more matching. Right now, it's going to be like a yes or no. Um, and yeah, that's pretty much it. I have to chat with Angela as far as if I don't know if she has any requirements she would like to apply. Um, but from our side, I'm thinking we should do at least 50 TEC minimum. Like, come on, get like, I don't know, to avoid wash trading, to avoid certain things. Um, but yeah, or maybe we do 200, which is the same security deposit we have on the gardens to make any proposal, which is at the current price it's just about $100.
Yeah, I'd honestly say that the lower is the better. I'd rather have people participating than to say, hey, I've got to spend $100 in TEC and then have to donate to get the boost. I think it's good, but it's like also they're having to work on different chain. They're having to migrate over funds over to a chain that they may not be using on a daily basis, which I think is kind of a hurdle for some people. And so I'd rather kind of minimize the friction for donors, at least for this first round. But that's just my thoughts on it.
So would you say 50 or even less?
I've 50s I would say would be like max in my opinion. I think but like we could do 50. I think that's fine. But yeah, it just depends. It's hard for me to say because this is kind of the first time we're engaging with this process. So
Yeah.
But I would generally say the less friction, the better. So yeah.
Anyone? Okay, go ahead, Bert.
Yeah, I think I would also support that idea of trying to get the minimum viable. I think the goal right now is more to first to experiment with this first round that we're doing and have engagement, right? And we're already doing this additional experiment of providing a boost with TEC tokens. I think more than focusing on the amount, I think we should just focus to make sure that it works, right? So yeah, it's also kind of hard to tell which amount would be appropriate, but I think this is more of a symbolic gesture that we are trying to do. So whatever that amount can represent, that I think that should be fine, and I would agree that max 50. I think that'd be good. If it's less, I wouldn't also see much problem with it. So yeah, that's my thoughts.
Okay, well, I have a chat with Rex. Maybe we can have a quick look at holdings and see like which number makes the cut that's sort of low enough, but also includes a significant amount of people. I'm guessing maybe the lower would be 5 to 10, which I think it's the lowest amount that people generally get with praise. Um, um, okay, well, cool. Um, Let me put this here. Last question has to do with the matching pool amount. Let me just add this here. Okay, so we passed the proposal for 25, but the Gitcoin team is going to ask for 3% of the matching pool to all the feature rounds, sort of as support for Gitcoin, and we are going to pay 2% of the entry tribute to convert to TEC tokens. So I guess the question is, how do we go about this? I did ask Griff early yesterday night, and he suggested we sort of make up for the 25, because quite quite frankly, between the 3% and the plus the 2%, I don't think it's going to be 1K, not even 1K, or close to 1K. And we are, I don't know, I have to look at the financials, because I'm not really aware of anything, but I don't think that's something we cannot afford. Like, we should be able to afford that, and still do the 25K and promote it as 25K. But I guess just to have some open feedback, and just to be clear about that, how do we feel about it? Should we just it's going to come up to close to 23, 24, all things considered. Do we, I don't know, if we don't complete the 25, do we promote it as 23, or do we do 20K plus matching pool? I don't know how people feel about that.
Yeah, so I think, like, in terms of the financials, I think we should be able to be in the position to cover kind of like that expenses, including the tribute and the Gitcoin fee. Yeah, it's gonna be, like you said, a little more than $1,000. So I think we could definitely do that, and I think it would be just give a better image if we just leave it at 25K. I've heard before that in general 25K it's also kind of like a lower amount for grants. So probably if we reduce it even more, that probably be not so good for the marketing part of it. So yeah, I think I would go with that.
Yeah, all rounds on Gitcoin, the lowest one is 25K, which is Meta Crisis from Super Modular and ourselves. The other ones are going to do 50, 100, 75. Yeah. Anyone else has any comments about that?
Where did you get the list of partner rounds?
That was shared with us on the operators guild, because they are going to they're going to use this information for the landing page and whatnot. So they asked us to fill some stuff in there.
Oh, okay, so it's not public yet then.
No.
I mean, what was our proposal for? It was for 20K, right?
The proposal was for 23 and something,
Okay.
and because it was 25 minus the 100, the 50, the 1500 something we got from ENS.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah, I think that sounds good.
Okay, so I think we are in an agreement that we should cover whatever fees to have the 25K there. Um, cool. Anything else? Or any other feedback, or if anyone wants to say something else? We have just about 4 minutes left. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Cool. Well, thanks everybody. It's been now almost 2 hours for most of us in the call. So yeah, let's keep talking and let's keep working. There's a bunch of stuff to do, and we'll see you guys on Thursday.
Thanks, Isaac. Really appreciate it.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Isaac.
Thank you, bro.
Bye.
See you later. Hey, Isaac, really quick,
Yeah.
can I get another look at those other projects that are doing groups? No one else has to stay. I'm sorry.
Yeah, sure. So it is okay. These are the core. Then the feature rounds is DSI from DSI Community Stewards. I don't know what's that, but advocacy that's